in every city. There are stories that unfold quietly beneath the noise of traffic and beneath the rhythm of passing trains. Stories we do not see because we are in a hurry or because we are looking the other way. But sometimes one small life, one fragile heartbeat, reveals who we truly are. On a gray afternoon, under clouds swollen with rain, a woman stops her car near the train tracks at the edge of town. The world is wet with the promise of storm. Her windshield wipers beat a steady, impatient rhythm. In her hands, trembling not with tenderness but with indifference, she holds a tiny orange kitten.
Subscribe now if you want more pets to be rescued.
Still just a baby, still learning the shape of the world, still believing that every pair of hands is gentle. She sets the kitten down on the cold steel rail. The metal carries the echo of distant thunder and faraway locomotives, but the kitten does not understand danger. It only feels the unfamiliar chill beneath its paws. It blinks confused as rain begins to fall in thin silver lines. The woman closes her car door, the sound dull and final, and drives away with a laugh that disappears into the hum of the engine and the widening storm. To her, the moment is already forgotten. To the kitten, it is everything. The sky opens. Rain pours down in sheets. The tiny orange body curls in on itself, shivering, soaked until every hair clings to fragile skin. It mews, a sound almost swallowed by the storm, a small, desperate cry that asks for warmth, for safety, for anyone. Trains pass here every day. The rails are unforgiving. Time is measured not by hours, but by arrival schedules, by the approaching tremor of iron and weight. And as minutes stretch on, the world continues around a kitten as if nothing unusual is happening. People walk by, some slow, some pausing for a heartbeat. They notice the movement, the color, the fragile, shaking life press against the track. They hesitate. They whisper to one another. They raise their phones and take pictures. A few kneel, but then the rain intensifies and discomfort wins. They tell themselves someone else will help, that it is not their responsibility, that they are late, that the shelter is far, that it is just one kitten. And so they leave. The rain keeps falling. The rails begin to hum with distant vibration. Somewhere unseen, a horn sounds in storm. But then, another figure approaches, not with umbrella, not with hurry, not wrapped in the confidence of comfort. A man, carrier's life in worn fabric and tired shoes, steps cautiously toward the tracks. His world has no walls, no ceiling, only sky. He has felt cold rain before. He has felt hunger and loneliness, and the silent distance of crowds that do not look him in the eyes. He hears the cry. He sees the small, shaking bundle of orange for press against the steel. Without hesitation, without calculation, without wondering what he will gain, he kneels. The rain runs off his face in thin streams. His hands, rough from weather and time, become gentle. He scoops the kitten up, holding it close against his chest, pressing it into what little warmth he has left to share. In that moment, the ground begins to vibrate. A train is coming. Wind pushes ahead of it, a force that bends the rain sideways. The man steps back from the rails, clutching the kitten as a massive machine roars past the place where, moments before, the tiny life had been. Metal screams on metal. Light sliced through the gray air. The world shakes. But the kitten is safe, in arms that the world often ignores. The smallest life finds shelter. Later, there is a brief image, almost a blur in a timeline of events. The woman who laughed as she drove away is found and arrested. A pair of cold handcuffs flashes for only a second on screen, blue and red lights reflected in wet pavement. The law speaks quietly but firmly. Actions have consequences. The scene passes quickly, like a headline on the edge of the story, because the real heart of this narrative lies elsewhere. Days pass, under a bridge, beside a cardboard shelter carefully arranged to keep out the worst of the wind. The man now has company. The little orange kitten, no longer trembling, curls against him. He has given it food when he barely had enough for himself. He has shared blankets, warmth, stories, silence. The kitten is no longer alone, and neither is he. Word spreads, as stories sometimes do, moving from one person to another, from passerby to officer, from moment to memory. One of the police officers who had arrested the woman, remembers a man on the tracks, remembers the rescue, remembers a kitten curled safely in his coat. He returns. He finds a man sitting quietly. The kitten now playful, batting at raindrops that escape into the shelter. The officer does not come with suspicion this time. He comes with recognition, with something close to admiration. He kneels, asks a few questions, listens, not just with procedure, but with humanity. Soon, cameras arrive. Not to shame, not to exploit, but to witness. Television crews set up in the rain-softened light of afternoon. Microphones lowered gently, respectfully. The man tells his story simply, without drama, because to him it was never a heroic act. He says he only did what his heart told him to do. He saw a small life in danger. He cared. He stayed. The city watches. In living rooms, in cafes, in the glow of phone screens late at night. People see his face, hear his voice, see the kitten now purring softly against his chest. They see a man who owns almost nothing except compassion. And suddenly, they understand something about themselves, about the value of empathy, about what it means to choose kindness when no one is watching. Donations begin to pour in, not out of guilt, but out of gratitude. Strangers write letters. Children draw pictures of the orange kitten and the man who saved it. Volunteers organize. The story grows into something larger than pain, larger than abandonment, larger than one cruel decision on a rainy afternoon. He is invited to City Hall. The streets he once walked as shadows now open in front of him. People greet him by name. Applause rises like a warm tide as he steps onto a small stage, holding the kitten, no longer a symbol of fear, but survival, of love that appeared where no one expected it. The mayor speaks, but the loudest message is unspoken. Dignity belongs to everyone. They give him a home, a real door that opens and closes, a bed that remembers the shape of rest, walls that hold in heat, a kitchen that smells of morning coffee. A place where the sound of rain means comfort, not exposure. And the kitten runs across clean floors, chasing invisible prey, safe, curious, alive. He stands in the doorway for a long time, as if absorbing the reality of it. For the first night in a long time, he does not sleep beneath bridges or beside tracks. He sleeps in a room filled with quiet and possibility, with a small heartbeat curled against his shoulder. And in that silence, something shifts. This is not just a story about a kitten. It is a story about who we are when no one is keeping score, about the woman who left and the world that held her accountable, but far more about the man who stayed, about how kindness can emerge from places society refuses to see, about how the smallest life can reveal the greatest courage, about how a city can look into a mirror and decide to change, even a little. In the end, the train tracks are still there. Trains still thunder past in the rain. People still hurry by with umbrellas and heavy schedules. But now, there's a memory attached to the steel. A reminder that life is fragile, that compassion is powerful, and that heroes do not always wear uniforms or live in houses or walk with certainty. Sometimes, they stand alone in the storm and choose love anyway. The orange kitten sleeps, no longer afraid of the sound of rails or thunder. The man smiles, not because his life is perfect, but because he is no longer invisible. He was seen, he was honored, and the city learned that true wealth is measured not in what we own, but in what we are willing to protect. This is a story of abandonment turned into rescue, of cruelty answered by courage, of loneliness transformed into home. It is a story of a life that almost ended beneath a train, and instead began again in the arms of someone who had nothing, yet gave everything that mattered. And so the narration closes not with the sound of iron and engines, but with the quiet purr of a small orange kitten. Safe at last, and the steady heartbeat of a man who proved that compassion can change the course of more than one life. Sometimes it can change an entire city.
Along a quiet railway beside the highway, a kitten was trapped in an old net, stuck directly on the tracks. The mother cat clawed and bit desperately, but every struggle only tightened the net. In the distance, a train was coming. She stayed beside her kitten,
finally made it,
refusing
didn't
to
we?
leave. People stopped, looked, then walked away in fear.
It's warm
A
in
golden
here.
dog arrived, tried to tear the net, then ran barking toward the road. An old beggar noticed and followed. Seeing the danger, he pulled out a small knife and cut through the net just seconds before the train board passed. The kitten was saved. The mother followed. Sometimes kindness returns when you least expect it and changes a life forever.